The sky ignites before anyone hears the sound. A blinding column of light splits the cloud cover above the fortified coastal city, as if the sun itself has dropped through the atmosphere. For half a second, the world turns white. Then the air detonates. Glass implodes inward across miles of reinforced structures. Harbor warships are shoved sideways in their berths as a shockwave rips across the water. Concrete defense walls, built after the first Titan incidents years ago, fracture like brittle bone. And in the center of the expanding inferno, something begins to take shape. Steam. Endless scalding steam. Military sirens wail too late. Fighter jets, already in the sky, spiral out of control as thermal currents surge violently upward. Traffic on the coastal expressway freezes. Drivers step out of their vehicles, staring toward the blooming cloud that swallows half the skyline. Within the roiling vapor, a silhouette rises. Massive, humanoid, burning. The Colossal Titan completes its manifestation with a thunderous displacement of air, flesh stretched over exposed muscle, heat pouring from its frame in violent waves. Its transformation alone flattens a 5-block radius. Buildings nearest to it collapse inward, foundations liquefying under impossible temperatures. Inside Monarch's regional command center, overlooking the bay, alarms scream in layered frequencies. Thermal spike exceeded previous records by 400%, a technician shouts, fingers flying over holographic panels. Satellite feeds flicker, then die one by one, replaced by static. Dr. Eileen Andrews grips the edge of the command console, eyes locked on the live drone footage, still barely transmitting. The image shakes violently, camera lens warping from heat distortion. "That's not one of ours," she breathes. "That's not any Titan in the registry." On screen, the Colossal Titan lifts one enormous foot and steps forward. The ground caves beneath it. Each movement is deliberate, almost measured. Steam vents from its skin in explosive bursts, incinerating anything within reach. The fortified anti-Titan artillery, mounted along the seawall pivots and fires in coordinated sequence. Armor-piercing shells streak through the haze and detonate against its ribcage. For a moment, the blasts are swallowed by steam. When the vapor clears, the Titan is still standing, scorched, unmoved. Its eyeless gaze sweeps across the city. There is something unnervingly focused about the angle of its head, as though it is assessing, calculating. Helicopters attempt a closer approach. Their rotors catch a rising thermal updraft. One spirals, clips a high-rise already cracking from structural failure, and disappears in flame. The Titan inhales. The air around its chest superheats, shimmering violently. "Radiation levels are stable," another analyst calls out. "No nuclear signature. This isn't atomic." "Then what is it?" someone whispers. The Colossal Titan releases a deafening blast of steam outward in a radial eruption. The force throws shipping containers like toys across the docks. Steel cranes buckle, the harbor water flashes into vapor along the shoreline. Across the Pacific, seismic buoys tremble from the aftershock. Global news feeds erupt into chaos. Live footage from orbit shows a column of white vapor punching into the stratosphere. World leaders demand answers no one can give. Theories spread instantly. Weaponized anomaly, interdimensional breach, a Titan species previously undiscovered. In the command center, Dr. Andrews zooms in on the Titan's upper torso. Beneath the peeling layers of exposed muscle, something pulses faintly, an energy pattern unlike anything Monarch has catalogued. "It's not acting like a rogue Titan," she says quietly. "It's choosing its steps, avoiding deeper water." Why? Before she can answer, the ground trembles again, not from the Titan's movement, but from something deeper. Far offshore, the ocean surface begins to churn. Back in the city, the Colossal Titan turns slowly toward the horizon. Steam trails behind it like a burning mantle. It takes another step, crushing a collapsed skyscraper beneath its heel. For the civilians still trapped in the outer districts, the sky is now permanently obscured by rolling vapor clouds. Ash falls like snow. Emergency broadcasts loop evacuation orders, but roads are gone, ports destroyed. The Titan pauses. Its posture shifts. Not attacking, not advancing. Listening. Monarch's seismic array spikes violently. New tremor signature detected, the lead geophysicist announces, voice trembling. Source: Pacific Trench. On the largest screen in the room, a live underwater drone feed activates, grainy, dark, illuminated only by bioluminescent flickers drifting through black water. Then the darkness moves. Something vast displaces the ocean around it, currents bending unnaturally. The drone's instruments crackle as a low-frequency vibration pulses through the seabed. Back on the surface, waves begin withdrawing from the shattered shoreline, sucked outward in unnatural rhythm. The Colossal Titan straightens to its full towering height. Steam intensifies along its shoulders, venting in sharp bursts. In Monarch's command center, every screen floods with synchronized data spikes. There's a second energy source, the technician whispers, massive, approaching. Beneath miles of crushing depth, two enormous shapes of dorsal plates begin to glow faintly in the dark. And for the first time since its arrival, the Colossal Titan does not move forward. It waits. Something ancient opens its eyes in the dark. Two pulses of bioluminescent blue flare to life, beneath crushing miles of ocean cutting through the abyss like twin stars igniting in reverse. The water trembles, not from movement, but from presence. Far above, the Pacific remains deceptively calm. The moonlight shimmers across its surface, broken only by distant debris drifting from the ruined coastline. But in the trench below, pressure shifts violently, as tectonic plates groan in response to something stirring between them. The massive form of Godzilla lies embedded within the ancient seabed, dorsal plates dark and jagged like a submerged mountain range. For years he has rested here in silence, heartbeats slowed to the rhythm of the planet itself. Then the tremor reaches him. Not seismic, not natural. A foreign surge of heat and energy reverberates through the water column, unlike radiation, unlike rival alpha calls. It is sharp, sudden, unfamiliar. His eyes narrow. The ocean around him begins to boil, not from heat, but from displacement. Massive currents twist violently as he shifts one colossal arm free from the sediment. Entire schools of deep-sea creatures scatter in blind panic. The pulse comes again. Far above the horizon, steam rises into the stratosphere where a coastal city once stood intact. Godzilla's gills flare. A low, resonant growl rolls from his chest, too deep for human ears to register, yet powerful enough to vibrate the continental shelf. The sound travels through water faster than any sonar, an ancient declaration carried across the Pacific basin. In Monarch's undersea monitoring facility, lights flicker. Dr. Andrews stares at the holographic projection of the trench as it erupts in movement. "He's awake," she says, voice tight but controlled. Technicians scramble. Alpha pattern confirmed, it's him. On the main display, heat signatures map across the ocean floor in luminous red. The enormous silhouette begins to move upward, carving through sediment like a tectonic force. Sonar buoys across thousands of miles begin transmitting overlapping alerts. "This isn't random," Andrews mutters, eyes scanning comparative data between the coastal thermal blast and Godzilla's awakening signature. He didn't wake for the city. He woke for the source. The camera feed from a deep ocean drone shakes violently as something passes overhead, vast, scaled, unstoppable. The drone's lights flicker across armored skin scarred from ancient battles, massive claws flex, sending shockwaves through the current. Godzilla ascends. The water compresses around him as he rises, accelerating with impossible power. Volcanic vents rupture in his wake, entire ridges collapse as his tail sweeps past. At the surface, the ocean begins to react before anyone sees him. Tides shift unnaturally, cargo vessels rock despite calm winds. Whales breach prematurely, fleeing a pressure wave spreading outward like a silent bomb. Along the devastated coastline, emergency crews pause as the sea begins to withdraw. "What is it now?" a soldier whispers, staring at the horizon, where the waterline creeps backward, exposing dark seabed that hasn't seen air in centuries. In Monarch Command, a junior analyst's face drains of color. Mass displacement event, offshore, rapid approach velocity. On screen, a topographic simulation overlays the coastline. A massive bulge forms beneath the ocean's surface, pushing forward like a submerged continent. And then he breaks through. Water erupts skyward in a violent explosion as Godzilla's dorsal plates pierce the surface, glowing faintly with residual bioluminescence. The impact sends a shockwave outward, flattening the retreating tide into a rising wall. The moon catches the ridges of his back as he lifts fully from the ocean, towering, ancient, sovereign. His roar splits the night. It rolls across the ruined harbor like thunder, amplified 1,000 times, shaking loose what little glass remains in shattered skyscrapers. The sound carries not rage, not fear, but dominance. The colossal Titan stands motionless inland, steam coiling from its frame. Godzilla turns his head slowly toward the shoreline, eyes locking on the distant pillar of vapor still rising into the atmosphere. He steps forward. Each footfall into the shallows displaces millions of gallons of water. The ocean piles behind him, drawn forward by his mass and momentum. Naval ships caught too close are lifted helplessly, tossed aside like driftwood. On every global news feed still broadcasting, the image becomes unmistakable. Two giants on a collision course. In the command center, silence falls heavy. "Two apocalyptic forces," someone breathes. Dr. Andrews watches Godzilla advance, her reflection flickering in the monitor light. "It's not just proximity," she says quietly. "It's territorial." He senses intrusion. Another tremor shakes the facility, not from below, but from the coastline itself as Godzilla plants his foot onto land. Concrete disintegrates under his weight, streetlights snap like twigs. The ground fractures outward in a spiderweb pattern that races toward the city's edge. Behind him, the ocean surges forward in response to his entry, drawn by gravity and force into a rising wall of water that grows taller with each step he takes. On the ruined shoreline, survivors stare upward as the horizon transforms into liquid mountain. The colossal Titan's steam intensifies, venting sharply as if in answer. And as Godzilla moves fully onto land, the sea rises behind him, an unstoppable wall of water racing toward the shattered city. The ocean hits the city before Godzilla does. A towering wall of black water crashes into the ruined shoreline, swallowing docks, vehicles, and entire city blocks in a single roaring surge. Ships are hurled inland, grinding through concrete towers already weakened by the colossal Titan's arrival. The impact shakes the ground like a secondary earthquake. And through the collapsing skyline, two silhouettes face each other. On one side, steam coils upward in violent spirals from the towering frame of the colossal Titan, skin glowing red along exposed muscle fibers. On the other, rising through receding floodwaters, stands Godzilla, scales dripping seawater, dorsal plates pulsing faintly beneath the night sky. For a suspended heartbeat, neither moves. Then Godzilla roars. The sound rips through the drowned streets, scattering debris and vibrating waves. The colossal Titan answers not with sound, but with motion. It steps forward, each footfall sending plumes of scalding steam outward that flash-boiled the seawater pooled around its ankles. Godzilla charges. His massive body barrels through half-submerged skyscrapers, shoulder-checking a glass tower that shatters like ice. He slams into the Titan with the force of a meteor impact. The collision detonates the air. Shockwaves ripple outward, flattening everything within a mile radius. Buildings already compromised crumble completely, cascading into dust clouds and flame. The Titan staggers back one step, only one, before bracing itself. Up close, the difference becomes horrifyingly clear. Godzilla fights with primal fury. Claws raking, jaws snapping. The Titan counters with calculated precision, grabbing at Godzilla's arm, twisting with inhuman strength. Steam erupts point blank. Superheated vapor blasts into Godzilla's face, obscuring vision and searing at his scales. The ground beneath them fractures under combined weight and pressure, subway tunnels collapsing into molten ruin. From a distant Monarch evacuation helicopter, cameras capture the impossible scene. They're not just fighting, a stunned analyst whispers over comms. They're adapting. Godzilla pulls free, tail whipping across the street. The impact cleaves through 3 high-rises in a single sweep, steel frames folding inward like paper. The Titan braces, feet carving trenches through asphalt. Then Godzilla's dorsal plates begin to glow brighter. A deep building hum vibrates through the flooded city. The colossal Titan tilts its head slightly as if recognizing the shift in threat. Blue light surges up Godzilla's spine. He unleashes it. The atomic breath tears through the steam in a concentrated beam of incandescent energy, carving a straight line across the battlefield. It strikes the Titan's torso dead center. For an instant, everything disappears into blinding blue-white radiance. The Titan answers immediately. It detonates a massive burst of superheated steam outward at full force, meeting the atomic beam head-on. Heat collides with radiation in a catastrophic explosion of energy. The shockwave blasts outward in all directions, vaporizing what little structure remains standing. Windows shatter miles away, bridges collapse into the harbor. The sky above the city churns into a vortex of steam and radioactive glow. Godzilla digs his claws into the ground, pushing forward against the blast. The Titan's flesh chars and blackens under sustained atomic fire, but regeneration begins almost instantly, muscle knitting beneath the glow. Steam thickens, swirling into an impenetrable cloud that swallows both giants whole. Within the haze, silhouettes clash, massive forms slamming into one another blindly. Godzilla's claws rake across the Titan's shoulder, carving deep trenches of exposed sinew. The Titan grips Godzilla's neck, forcing him sideways into a collapsing stadium. Concrete implodes around them. Fighter jets streak overhead, desperate. "Fire everything!" a military commander shouts over open frequency. Missiles rain down into the fog, guided, unguided, experimental. They strike both Titans indiscriminately. The explosions barely register. Warheads detonate against Godzilla's armored hide, dispersing in flashes that leave no lasting mark. They impact the Titan's flesh, blowing craters that begin sealing seconds later beneath boiling steam. The realization spreads quickly through every surviving command center on Earth. Conventional weapons are irrelevant. Inside the steam cloud, Godzilla surges upward, jaws clamping onto the Titan's shoulder. He heaves, dragging the colossal form through the ruins of a financial district. The Titan responds with another violent steam eruption at near-contact range. The blast throws Godzilla backward through two skyscrapers. Both giants vanish again beneath smoke, flame, and collapsing debris. Silence tries to settle, but the city refuses it. Fires rage uncontrolled. Floodwaters surge through subway tunnels. The air itself shimmers from lingering heat. Slowly, the steam begins to thin. Through the drifting haze, a massive shape rises first. Godzilla, chest heaving, dorsal plates dimming slightly but still glowing with residual power. Across the shattered avenue, the colossal Titan straightens as well, skin burned black in places, muscle regenerating visibly beneath torn flesh. Steam coils around it like a living cloak. They lock eyes across a battlefield that was once a city. Neither falls. Neither retreats. And in the space between them, where towers once stood, only ruin remains. The war has only just begun. The footage shouldn't exist. Every angle of the battle plays at once across Monarch's subterranean command center. Satellite remnants, drone fragments, helmet cams recovered from drowned soldiers. Steam, atomic light, collapsing towers, freeze frames of impact moments that no human eye could process in real time. Dr. Eileen Andrews stands at the center of it all. Hands clasped behind her back, face illuminated by a storm of data projections. "Run it again," she says quietly. The sequence restarts, the colossal Titan's transformation bloom expanding outward in a thermal shockwave. Spectral analysis overlays the image in layers, infrared, gamma, ultraviolet. A technician shakes his head. "It's not nuclear fission. It's not fusion. It's not any geothermal event we've catalogued." On another screen, Godzilla's atomic breath arcs across the city in electric blue. Radiation markers spike in clean, predictable patterns, familiar, earthborn, ancient. Then the data shifts to the moment of collision. Two energy signatures collide and something fractures in the readout. "Pause," Andrews orders. The frame freezes where atomic fire meets superheated steam. The colors glitch into an unfamiliar spectrum. Strands of energy woven between the blast waves like threads pulled from somewhere else. "That doesn't map to any terrestrial isotope," the physicist beside her says, voice barely steady. "It's not hollow Earth radiation. It's not Titan bioelectric output." Andrews steps closer to the projection. The unknown signature pulses faintly within the Titan's transformation flare, present from the very first second it appeared above the city. "It's embedded," she murmurs, "woven into its biology." "Meaning?" "Meaning this thing didn't evolve here." The room goes quiet. Across the facility, massive reinforced windows look out over a distant mountain range scarred by aftershocks. Storm clouds gather unnaturally thick above the horizon, pulled by atmospheric instability from the clash. On a central display, the colossal Titan's skeletal structure rotates in 3 dimensions: exposed musculature, bone density, regenerative nodes. Monarch's AI attempts classification. Known. "Could it be a mutation?" someone asks. "A dormant species triggered by radiation?" Andrews shakes her head. "Godzilla responds to rivals, to challenges within a hierarchy. This," she gestures toward the flickering alien signature, "this isn't part of that system." Another scientist pulls up Titan activity maps worldwide. Dormant signals flicker faintly, Scylla beneath Arctic ice, Behemoth in the Amazon basin. None have moved. Yet. "If this energy continues interacting with Godzilla's radiation," the physicist says slowly, "it could disrupt the equilibrium." The alpha structure, Andrews finishes. Images flash across the screen, past Titan events, cities crushed under the weight of ancient battles. Every time one pattern remains consistent. When an alpha rises, others submit or are destroyed. Balance returns. But this time, this isn't submission behavior, Andrews says. The Colossal Titan isn't answering a call, it's issuing one. Footage from the latest engagement plays again. The Titan's posture, head angled, movements deliberate. Not mindless destruction, not territorial instinct. Intent. He's thinking, a junior analyst whispers. Andrews doesn't correct him. She shifts to another data set. Atmospheric readings following the Titan's detonations. The unknown energy disperses in microscopic particles, lingering longer than steam should. It reacts strangely when exposed to Godzilla's radiation, flaring briefly before fading. Look at the decay rate, she says. It's slow, the physicist confirms, almost like it's trying to stabilize. Outside, thunder rolls, not natural thunder, but the distant rumble of tectonic adjustment. The planet responding. If that energy integrates into Earth's biosphere, Andrews continues, it could rewrite Titan behavior at a fundamental level. Or provoke it. Silence again. A military liaison steps forward. Worst case scenario? Andrews doesn't hesitate. Godzilla falls. The words land like a detonation. He's the apex, the stabilizer. Every Titan event in recorded history resolved once he asserted dominance. If he loses, she glances at the global Titan map. Several dormant markers flicker brighter for a split second. There's nothing left to keep the others in check. The liaison swallows. We'd be looking at a cascade. A planetary correction, Andrews says softly, without an alpha. She turns to a secured console at the back of the room. It requires dual authentication. She enters her code. The screen shifts to a classified archive, files stamped with warnings in red. Project Leviathan Protocol. She opens the top document. Grainy footage from decades earlier plays, a Titan rising, cities burning, the world on the brink. Then Godzilla's arrival, decisive, brutal, restoring order through dominance. A notation appears beneath the footage. If alpha state is compromised, secondary emergence probability exceeds 87%. Andrews scrolls further. A simulation runs. Godzilla's biosignature flatlining. Within hours, Titan activity spikes globally. Within days, mass migrations toward population centers. Within weeks, ecological collapse. The final projection shows the planet in chaos. Multiple alphas competing, no hierarchy. She closes the file slowly. Behind her, screens flicker with live satellite feeds. Through lingering smoke over the shattered metropolis, two colossal shapes stand facing each other across miles of ruin. Neither has retreated. Neither has submitted. And deep within Monarch's classified archive, a single line of text remains illuminated on the darkened screen. If the king falls, the world follows. The heat spike appears before the light. Monarch satellites register it as a sudden bloom of red deep inland, far from the drowned coastline, far from the ruins of the first battlefield. For 3 seconds, the data hesitates, as if the system itself refuses to believe the numbers. Then the sky over the mountain-ringed metropolis turns white. A pillar of steam erupts upward with apocalyptic force, punching through cloud cover and carving a temporary hole in the atmosphere. The shockwave follows an instant later, flattening suburbs in a perfect expanding circle. Windows implode 30 miles away, highways ripple like disturbed water. At ground zero, the Colossal Titan completes its transformation. The detonation is even larger than before. Entire districts vanish beneath superheated vapor. Skyscrapers fold inward as if crushed by invisible hands. The surrounding mountain slopes ignite instantly. Pine forests flash into walls of flame as the blast wave races outward. In Monarch's command center, red alarms cascade across every screen. "He's moved inland," a technician breathes. "That wasn't migration. That was deliberate." Dr. Andrews watches the thermal plume spiral upward like a volcanic eruption. "He's escalating." Across the Pacific coastline, where floodwaters still cling to shattered foundations, something responds immediately. Beneath the ocean's surface, bioluminescent blue flares to life again. Godzilla moves without hesitation. The moment the inland detonation registers across the seismic network, he pivots. Massive claws dig into seabed rock, propelling him toward shore with explosive force. The ocean parts around him in violent currents as he accelerates. On the ruined coastline, survivors barely have time to process the distant flash over the mountains before the sea begins to churn again. "He's coming back," a Monarch liaison whispers, watching live sonar feed. Godzilla emerges from the surf with unstoppable momentum, water cascading off armored scales. He does not roar this time, he does not pause. He charges inland. Each footstep fractures highways. Power lines snap and whip violently in his wake. Military evacuation convoys scatter as he barrels past, drawn by the fresh thermal signature pulsing beyond the mountain range. Inland, the Colossal Titan steps through the smoldering remains of its own detonation zone. Steam coils thicker than before, venting in rhythmic bursts. Its skin glows brighter along exposed muscle, heat shimmering violently in the air around it. Helicopters attempt surveillance from high altitude, but thermal turbulence shoves them sideways like toys. The Titan turns its head toward the mountains. It feels him. Godzilla crests the first ridgeline like a living avalanche. Rock collapses under his weight as he pushes through forested slopes. Trees ignite instantly upon contact with his residual radiation. A wildfire erupts behind him, spreading in a blazing arc across the valley. The second clash begins without warning. Godzilla slams into the Titan from the side, driving both giants through a cluster of high-rise towers that had miraculously survived the initial blast. Steel frames twist and snap as their combined mass tears through reinforced concrete. The Titan retaliates with a focused eruption of steam directly into Godzilla's chest. The blast throws him backward across a hillside, carving a molten trench through earth and stone. Godzilla roars now, raw, furious. His dorsal plates flare brighter than before, casting an eerie blue glow across smoke-choked skies. Ash falls like black snow around them. The Titan advances through burning forest, footsteps sending embers spiraling upward. It raises both arms and unleashes another concentrated steam burst, igniting entire mountain slopes in a chain reaction of fire. Godzilla answers with atomic breath. The beam slices across the valley, shearing through rock and forest before striking the Titan squarely. The impact blasts a crater into the mountainside behind it, vaporizing stone into molten glass. Steam and radiation collide again, but this time the terrain magnifies the destruction. Avalanches cascade down shattered slopes, shockwaves ricochet between peaks, amplifying into rolling sonic booms that echo for miles. In the command center, global monitors begin flickering with new warnings. "Radiation spike in the upper atmosphere," a scientist calls out. "Jet stream disruption." Weather satellites show storm systems forming unnaturally fast over distant continents. Charged particles ripple outward from the battle zone, interacting with Earth's magnetosphere. "This is going planetary," Andrews says quietly. Back in the mountains, Godzilla lunges forward, claws sinking into the Titan's shoulder. He forces it backward through a cliff face, rock exploding outward in massive debris clouds. The Titan staggers but does not fall. Instead, something changes. Its steam output slows for half a second. The glow beneath its muscle dims, then pulses again, not erratic but measured. Up close, through swirling smoke, its head tilts slightly, not in confusion, not in rage, in calculation. Godzilla prepares another atomic surge, dorsal plates charging with rising intensity. But the Titan does not immediately counter. It stands still amid the burning mountains, steam venting in controlled bursts, as if reassessing the battlefield itself. For the first time since it arrived in this world, it hesitates. And in that hesitation, something inside it seems to be thinking. It doesn't attack. That's what freezes everyone. Through smoke-choked mountains and burning valleys, the Colossal Titan stands motionless while Godzilla's dorsal plates blaze with gathering atomic light. The air vibrates with the promise of another catastrophic discharge. But the Titan does nothing. Its steam vents in slow, measured bursts, not explosive, not reactive, controlled. Godzilla roars and fires. The atomic beam tears across the valley, gouging molten trenches through rock and forest. The Titan pivots at the last possible second. The blast grazes its shoulder instead of striking center mass, carving a burning canyon into the mountainside behind it. In Monarch's command center, the playback freezes on that frame. Rewind, Dr. Andrews says. The sequence runs again, this time slowed to 1/10 speed. The Titan's posture shifts milliseconds before the dorsal plates reach peak luminescence. It anticipated the charge, a behavioral analyst murmurs. Godzilla surges forward in the live feed, claws extended, driven by primal dominance. The Titan steps backward, not stumbling, not forced, backward with intention. It creates distance. It funnels the fight downhill. Andrews turns to the holographic map of the terrain. Elevation lines illuminate in layered relief. It's guiding him, she says quietly. On screen, the Titan moves through the burning forest with deliberate paving, avoiding unstable cliffs and landslide zones. Godzilla barrels straight through obstacles, smashing rock and timber alike in relentless pursuit. Every Titan we've studied responds to hierarchy, the analyst says. Territory, alpha calls, instinct. And this one? Andrews asks. The footage shifts to a close-up drone angle. Through swirling ash, the Titan's exposed musculature flexes as it glances back just once, confirming Godzilla's pursuit. This one plans. Silence settles over the room. Outside, storm systems spiral unnaturally across hemispheres. Radiation readings ripple through upper atmosphere layers. Emergency broadcasts scroll across global networks, evacuations expanding beyond coastal zones, now stretching toward inland population centers. Back in the mountains, Godzilla lunges again, tackling the Titan through a ridge of smoldering stone. The impact fractures the peak entirely, sending avalanches cascading down both sides. The Titan does not grapple. It twists free and moves, always moving. It retreats down the valley floor, steam flaring only when necessary to slow Godzilla's advance. Each burst is tactical, blinding, redirecting, never overcommitting. Godzilla's fury intensifies. His movements grow more aggressive, less restrained. He bites, claws, tail whips entire hillsides into dust. But the Titan never stands its ground long enough to risk full atomic impact again. In Monarch Command, Andrews overlays the Titan's movement path onto a regional map. Her expression shifts. It's heading southeast. A junior officer zooms out the projection. Mountains give way to plains. Plains give way to dense infrastructure grids. A megacity. Population, 12 million. No, the officer breathes. On the battlefield, Godzilla pauses briefly atop a shattered ridge, chest heaving, dorsal plates glowing like molten spines against the smoke-dark sky. He roars, a declaration of dominance that shakes the valley. The Titan stops as well. For a single moment, they face each other across miles of ruin and wildfire. Godzilla advances. The Titan turns and runs. Not in panic, not in desperation. In direction. It moves with long, efficient strides toward the distant urban skyline, now visible beyond the thinning mountains. Steam trails behind it, like a contrail, marking its path straight toward human density. In the command center, overlapping voices rise. It's using the city. It knows he won't hold back. And if Godzilla fires atomic breath inside that infrastructure, Andrews finishes the thought in a whisper. Casualties in the millions. On screen, evacuation sirens activate across the megacity. Traffic clogs highways in desperate lines. Skyscraper lights flicker as rolling blackouts begin. Godzilla descends from the ridge in relentless pursuit, unaware of human maps, unaware of civilian grids. To him, there is only the challenger who refuses submission. Instinct versus intention. The Titan crosses the final tree line and steps onto open plains leading directly to the city outskirts. It slows, not from exhaustion, but from calculation. Steam vents once, softly. Godzilla emerges from the burning mountain pass seconds later, closing the distance rapidly. From above, satellites capture the full trajectory, two colossal forces converging on the most densely populated region in the hemisphere. Inside Monarch's command center, the room falls into a heavy, suffocating quiet. Andrews watches the Titan's heat signature flicker with subtle modulation. "It's not retreating," she says. The Titan takes another measured step toward the skyline. It's choosing the battlefield. Godzilla roars again, atomic light beginning to rise along his spine as he charges after it. And ahead of them, the megacity waits, unaware that it has just become the next arena. The sea pulls back before anyone understands why. Cargo ships tilt awkwardly in the harbor as the waterline recedes at unnatural speed, exposing mud, wreckage, and the skeletons of old piers. Along the coastline of the megacity, evacuation sirens wail over gridlocked highways. Helicopters beat frantically against turbulent air, thick with ash drifting in from the burning mountains behind. On the horizon, something vast moves beneath the surface. Moments later, the ocean returns. A wall of black water rises higher than the skyscrapers lining the bay. Windows shatter from the pressure change alone. The first wave slams into the port district with apocalyptic force, hurling container ships through office towers and ripping bridges from their supports like loose thread. Through the collapsing skyline strides Godzilla, forcing the tsunami forward simply by existing. Water cascades around his armored legs as he pushes into the flooded streets, dorsal plates faintly aglow, eyes locked ahead. He does not slow for sirens. He does not register the frantic human exodus. The challenger is here. On the far side of the city, steam rises. The Colossal Titan stands at the edge of the waterfront financial district, framed by glass towers and digital billboards flickering through power failure. Its skin radiates heat that turns rainfall into instant vapor. The skyline around it glows orange from spreading fires ignited by earlier tremors. It watches the advancing king. Godzilla roars, the sound swallowed halfway by the roar of incoming tides. He barrels through mid-rise buildings, each impact sending debris into churning floodwaters. Cars and streetlights disappear beneath his stride. The Titan does not retreat this time. It waits. Monarch's command center flickers with overlapping catastrophe alerts, coastal flood warnings across continents, radiation levels climbing, atmospheric pressure destabilizing. If they engage at full output inside that city, a systems analyst begins. There won't be a city, Dr. Andrews finishes quietly. Godzilla closes the distance in seconds, tail whipping through a broadcasting tower that collapses in a spray of sparks. He lunges, jaws snapping toward the Titan's shoulder. The Titan steps forward instead of back. It embraces the collision. Their bodies crash together amid the flooded avenue, sending a tidal shockwave racing outward that slams into remaining high-rises. Floors pancake, steel skeletons twist. Godzilla bites down, claws digging into exposed muscle. The Titan grips his neck with both massive hands, steam venting violently at contact points. Water around them flashes into vapor in hissing clouds. For a split second, they are locked face to face in the drowned heart of the city. Then, the Titan detonates. Not a transformation, something deeper. A point-blank eruption of superheated steam explodes outward from its core, magnified by the surrounding floodwaters. The blast converts thousands of gallons into expanding vapor instantaneously, creating a secondary shockwave far more violent than the first. The waterfront district disappears in white. From miles away, observers see only a spherical cloud blooming upward from the city center. Skyscrapers nearest the epicenter disintegrate under pressure. The blast sends Godzilla hurtling backward through 3 towers in succession, each one collapsing like a domino. The tsunami rebounds outward again, now superheated and churning with debris. Inside the steam cloud, visibility drops to 0. Monarch loses thermal lock for several agonizing seconds. "Where is he?" someone whispers. Radiation spikes erratically inside the vapor mass. The Titan's heat signature pulses strong, stable. Godzilla's signal flickers. Across the globe, seismic stations register the detonation as a measurable planetary tremor. Storm systems accelerate unnaturally over distant oceans. Lightning arcs across cloud formations charged by radiation bleed off. Humanity watches through fragmented live feeds as their megacity vanishes beneath smoke and flood. If this cycle continues, Andrews says softly, staring at the global disaster projections updating in real time, we're looking at extinction-level destabilization. Inside the steam cloud, something moves. A low guttural rumble begins, deep, resonant, building. The Titan steps forward through thinning vapor, searching. For the first time since their battles began, the king of the monsters is not immediately visible. Debris falls in slow arcs around the cratered district. Floodwaters churn with floating steel and shattered glass. Then the vapor shifts. A silhouette rises up, massive, unbroken. Godzilla stands amid the ruin, water cascading off his armored hide. Scorch marks glow faintly across his chest where the detonation struck, but his posture remains upright, unbowed. And his dorsal plates, they ignite. Not the steady bioluminescent glow from before, but something brighter, hotter. The blue deepens toward white at the edges, light bleeding through the steam like a second sun. The rumble grows into a roar that shakes what remains of the skyline. Across from him, the Colossal Titan pauses, and for the first time, the air between them feels less like a battle, and more like a reckoning. The sky turns white, not with lightning, not with fire, with something far worse. A beam of concentrated atomic fury tears across the ruined coastline, splitting the ocean in a glowing trench as it slams into the Colossal Titan's chest. The impact is immediate, blinding, violent, absolute. Steam detonates outward in a hurricane of superheated wind, shredding buildings that had somehow survived the previous clash. Godzilla does not roar this time. He holds the beam, sustained, relentless. His dorsal plates blaze like a spine of miniature suns, each jagged fin pulsing brighter with every passing second. The blue glare reflects off the boiling sea, casting the world in a nuclear dawn. The colossal titan braces. Skin blackens instantly, muscle chars. Rib-like structures beneath translucent flesh glow red-hot before rupturing. The blast punches through its torso, carving molten tunnels through regenerative tissue, but it does not fall. Steam explodes from every inch of its body, thick, scalding, defensive. The Titan's immense frame leans forward, enduring. Its vacant eyes fix on the king of the monsters with the same hollow determination it has shown since the first collision. Regenerate. Endure. Survive. The beam intensifies. Concrete liquefies around their feet. The shoreline collapses as sand fuses into glass. Waves vaporize before they can crest, leaving behind swirling voids of steam where ocean once stood. Inside a fortified observation bunker miles inland, seismic monitors scream. Technicians shield their eyes from the external feed, the brightness overwhelming the cameras. "He's not pulsing," one analyst whispers, disbelief in his voice. "It's continuous." Godzilla's atomic breath becomes a torrent, an unbroken river of annihilation. The ground fractures beneath him, unable to withstand the energy coursing through his body. Each pulse of his dorsal plate sends shockwaves through the crust. The colossal titan's outer flesh sloughs away entirely now, revealing glowing sinew beneath. Regeneration struggles to keep pace. New muscle fibers knit together, only to be burned apart seconds later. The familiar rapid healing, the monstrous advantage that once made it unstoppable, has slowed. For the first time, the Titan's movements falter. Its arm, half-formed from regrowth, drops uselessly at its side before rebuilding again in jerking increments. The skin reforms thinner, more brittle. Godzilla steps forward. Each footfall triggers localized earthquakes. His beam drives the Titan backward through entire city blocks reduced to skeletal frameworks. Skyscrapers collapse like burning matchsticks as the two giants carve a canyon of destruction through the urban coast. The sky darkens. Ash rises in colossal plumes where atomic heat ignites what little remains combustible. The atmosphere churns with soot and radioactive vapor. Sunlight dims behind a curtain of smoke. Above them, storm systems form unnaturally fast, born from boiling oceans and thermal upheaval. Thunder rolls through clouds illuminated from beneath by blue nuclear light. The colossal titan changes. It stops trying to strike, stops trying to overpower. Instead, it plants its feet and absorbs the assault, shifting its posture, less aggressive and more guarded. Steam output increases, not explosively this time, but steadily, controlled. It funnels the vapor outward in concentrated bursts to obscure vision, forcing Godzilla to adjust his aim through swirling whiteout conditions. Endurance. If it cannot defeat the king of the monsters head-on, it will outlast him. But Godzilla is ancient war incarnate. His beam cuts sideways, sweeping through the Titan's leg. Flesh detonates. Bone-like structures crack. The Titan drops to one knee, the impact generating a shockwave that ripples across the burning bay. For a moment it seems inevitable. The colossal Titan's head tilts downward, steam pouring from its ruined torso in fading waves. Regeneration slows to a crawl. Muscle fibers knitting sluggishly, trembling as atomic residue eats away at cellular reconstruction. Godzilla ceases the beam. Silence does not follow. The world hisses. The ocean around them churns violently, vast patches now actively boiling, dead zones of steaming water stretch toward the horizon, entire marine ecosystems erased in minutes. Godzilla inhales again. His dorsal plates flare brighter than before, no longer blue alone, but edged with white heat at their cores. The air vibrates with a rising, harmonic hum, deeper and more resonant than earlier bursts. The Colossal Titan senses it. Through layers of steam and ruin, its massive frame begins to rise again. Slowly, deliberately. Not to charge, but to endure the next wave. Its regeneration continues, but each cycle takes longer. Muscle reforms unevenly, skin regrows thinner. Energy reserves visibly depleting. Above, ash blots out the sun completely. Day becomes twilight. Lightning cracks across blackened clouds, illuminating a battlefield that no longer resembles Earth. Shorelines have receded. Entire districts lie submerged beneath newly formed tidal craters. Fires burn without direction, fed by chemical spills and shattered infrastructure. In the bunker, a senior geophysicist stares at a secondary monitor, one not focused on the battle. "Sir, seismic anomalies are spiking globally. Across distant continents, fault lines tremble. Under Antarctic ice shelves, something shifts. In forgotten ocean trenches, pressure waves disturb ancient slumber. Godzilla releases the next atomic barrage. This time it is not a beam. It is a sustained, roaring column of destruction that engulfs the Colossal Titan entirely, swallowing its silhouette in nuclear light. The blast reaches into the sky itself, piercing the ash layer and igniting clouds from within. The ground collapses beneath both titans, and as the atomic inferno rages, monitors around the world begin lighting up one after another. Dormant signatures, massive. Awakening. The age of one monster's dominion is ending. The age of many has begun. The tremors begin beneath the oceans first. Monarch's underwater sensors pick up rapid pulses along fault lines that had been dormant for centuries. Something massive stirs deep in the abyssal trenches, sending pressure waves that ripple toward coastlines like invisible tidal hammers. Across the Pacific and Atlantic alike, dormant titans shift in response, long-hidden behemoths rising from their centuries of sleep. Their massive forms displace entire currents, sending schools of fish scattering and underwater volcanoes coughing ash into the murky depths. On the scorched coastline, Godzilla pauses atop the ruined skyscrapers of the megacity, dorsal plates glowing with intermittent flares of white-blue atomic energy. His gaze sweeps the horizon, scanning for the Colossal Titan, whose faint steam trail drifts across the city like a toxic ribbon. For the first time, Godzilla senses more than one threat. The Colossal Titan stands at the edge of the flooded streets, steam curling in controlled bursts, but it no longer looks like it's waiting. The creature emits subtle tremors through its massive feet, vibrations that travel outward, rippling through concrete and steel alike. Monarch analysts lean over the seismic readouts, anxiety etched across every face. "Sir, these readings aren't local," one technician says, voice tight. "Multiple sources. They're moving. Large. Really large." Dr. Andrews doesn't speak at first. Her eyes are fixed on the global projection. Then she exhales, grim. "It's happening," she murmurs, "the hierarchy. It's destabilizing. The Colossal Titan isn't just a threat, it's a signal. Every alpha that senses weakness is waking. Across continents, faint but unmistakable roars echo, like the shadows of mountains shattering under impossible weight. Antarctica, the Amazon, the Arctic Circle, signatures flare as ancient titans emerge from centuries-long dormancy. Ice breaks, jungle canopies collapse, volcanoes puff ash clouds into an already darkened sky. Humanity's systems scream alerts in unison. Tsunami warnings, evacuation orders, radiation spikes. They all cascade in a cacophony of global panic. Back in the ruined megacity, Godzilla's head tilts, nostrils flaring. His roar reverberates across the fractured urban canyons, a resonant challenge that cuts through the boiling floodwaters and ash-choked air. Every living being in the city, human, animal, or titan, hears it. The colossal titan shifts, letting out its own deep, echoing tremor of a roar that carries farther than its size should allow. The vibration shakes streets, crumbles masonry, and sets water surging in tidal waves around the already devastated harbor. Its voice, measured and intentional, seems to reach out into the planet itself. Godzilla responds. Dorsal plates flare hotter, atomic energy sizzling into the thickening air. His roar doubles, reverberating over mountains, oceans, and continental shelves. The surrounding floods churn violently, smoke and steam mingle in an apocalyptic fog. The battle for dominance has grown global. Monarch officers watch helplessly as distant sensors register new threats. Titan silhouettes puncture the horizon, some rising from beneath the ice, others breaking through mountain ridges or dense forests. Their presence is erratic but purposeful. They do not wander. They converge, drawn by the colossal Titan's signal. Dr. Andrews turns to a junior analyst. If Godzilla doesn't assert dominance now, this world will see a chain reaction unlike anything in recorded history. Every Titan thinks it's time to claim supremacy. Below, in the streets of the half-submerged megacity, Godzilla shifts his massive weight. His claws tear through the foundations of high-rises, sending masonry tumbling into the churning waters. He sniffs the wind, head tilting toward the faint vibrations in the distance. The roar of a rival alpha reaches him across continents, a deep, resonant bellow that seems impossibly large. The colossal Titan doesn't flinch. Steam coils around its feet as it steps forward, pulling Godzilla's attention and movement toward the city once more. Its strategy is no longer just survival or confrontation. It is a call to arms. Every step it takes sends tremors into the ground that ripple outward like war drums for every Titan still buried across the globe. Godzilla growls low, a primal acknowledgement of the gathering chorus. He steps forward, claws smashing concrete and steel, dorsal plates flashing with lethal intensity. The roar that follows is not only challenge, it is warning. Across the planet, dormant titans respond. Icebergs fracture, forests collapse, and volcanoes shudder. Humanity watches, powerless, as a global hierarchy of monsters stirs from millennia-long slumber. And amid the chaos, two colossal forces stand in the ruined megacity. Godzilla, instinct incarnate, roaring dominance. The colossal Titan, calculated and deliberate, a beacon calling forth the storm. Seismic readings spike suddenly, higher than anything Monarch has ever recorded. From distant oceans, deep rumbles echo back, not random. They are voices, each Titan declaring itself awake. The war is no longer two monsters in a city. It is a planetary reckoning. And the alpha roar that just echoed across continents hints at an approaching inevitability. Godzilla will have to fight not only a challenger, but the gathering storm itself. The first tremor strikes beneath the coastal cliffs before dawn. Godzilla rises from the churning surf, dorsal plates ignited in a radiant white-blue blaze that cuts through pre-dawn haze. His tail slices through the tidal waves, sending spray cascading across ruined harbors and shattered piers. Every movement is calculated, primal dominance radiating outward. He senses the stirrings of lesser titans across his territory, ancient, buried forces awakened by the colossal titan's presence, and he does not hesitate. From the deep forests inland, towering shapes move through mist and ash. One titan lumbers from a collapsed mountain ridge. Another emerges from a cratered valley, both drawn by the tremors and the scent of challenge. Their eyes glow faintly, reflecting the fires of destruction Godzilla left behind. Each step they take fractures the ground beneath them, rupturing rivers and sending clouds of steam into the dawn sky. Godzilla lets out a low, resonant growl, a sound that shakes forests and ripples over mountains. The emerging titans pause, recognizing a force older, faster, and stronger than themselves. He does not attack immediately, instead circling and observing, every step measured. His claws rake into the earth as if marking territory. His roar rolls across valleys and cliffs, asserting dominance. Monarch Command watches with tense fascination. He's engaging them selectively, Dr. Andrews notes, not attacking everything. He's establishing hierarchy. Across the globe, minor titans respond to the vibrations, some retreating, others advancing, sensing opportunity in the fractured order. High above, satellites detect a heat signature that doesn't belong, massive, calculated, and deliberate. The colossal titan has reappeared not on the coastline, not in neutral territory, but directly within Godzilla's domain. The titan moves differently this time. Its steps are quieter, strategic, avoiding tremor-heavy paths that would alert Godzilla too early. Steam vents pulse in precise bursts, masking its approach while leaving a trail for Monarch to track. It pauses atop a scorched ridge, scanning the battlefield below. Its gaze follows Godzilla's movements, analyzing every arc of atomic breath, every swipe of claw, every timed step of his enormous legs. Godzilla senses something. He stiffens, dorsal plates flaring in heightened anticipation. He does not yet see the titan, but instinct tells him the challenger is near. He roars a primal warning, sending shockwaves that ripple through tidal waters and fractured terrain. Forests shudder, ash plumes rise, and minor titans falter, aware that the alpha is aware. The colossal titan observes, recording, learning. Its head tilts slightly as Godzilla lunges at a distant intruder titan. The titan does not intervene, allowing Godzilla to crush the lesser creature, studying timing, movement, and aggression. Every dodge, every counter, every moment of pause is noted. Its intelligence guides it, human-level calculation fused with inhuman scale. Godzilla turns back to the ridge, nostrils flaring, sensing heat, reading vibrations, and then steam rises directly ahead. The air shimmers. Atmospheric distortion bends the early light around the massive form of the colossal titan. It steps forward deliberately, massive feet crunching through debris, each step punctuated by a hiss of vapor. Godzilla's eyes lock on it, pupils narrowing. He lets out a roar, a declaration, not just of recognition, but of challenge. Atomic energy builds along his dorsal spines, light crackling and sputtering across the humid dawn air. The colossal titan pauses at the boundary of Godzilla's territory. Its gaze sweeps the tidal plains and ruined cityscape, absorbing details, analyzing the battlefield. Steam vents puff rhythmically, almost like measured breathing, a silent signal of calculated patience. Every movement suggests preparation rather than impulse, endurance rather than immediate engagement. Monarch monitors go silent for a moment, the weight of what they are witnessing pressing down. "It's learning him," an analyst whispers. "This isn't just confrontation. It's strategy versus instinct." Godzilla roars again, louder this time, sending a rolling wave across the bay. The smaller titans freeze. Trees splinter, steel beams warp. The colossal titan inclines its head slightly, acknowledging the roar, measuring response, and recalibrating its approach. For a brief instant, the battlefield is still. Smoke curls around shattered cliffs. Steam rises from molten ruins. Waves lap violently against collapsed piers, and in that stillness the rules of engagement shift. Godzilla has asserted territory. Lesser titans falter. But the colossal titan is no ordinary intruder. Its presence within Godzilla's domain is both provocation and experiment, a test of timing, strength, and adaptation. A low seismic rumble vibrates from the colossal titan's chest as it steps further into the tidal plains. Its gaze meets Godzilla's directly, and for the first time the king of the monsters is confronted not just by raw power, but by intent. An intellect woven into muscle, strategy fused to scale. The storm of lesser titans around them, the shattered landscape, and the boiling waters all fade into the background of this silent confrontation. Two alpha forces prepare to collide, one born of instinct and primordial supremacy, the other of calculated invasion. And as the colossal titan advances, deliberately positioning itself within Godzilla's domain, the world holds its breath. The battle for dominance has entered a new, perilous phase. The city is already dead before the fight begins. Skyscrapers lean like fractured teeth, glass glinting in jagged shards as fires burn in gutted office towers. Streets are rivers of molten asphalt, steam rising where concrete and steel liquefy under lingering heat. The sky is thick with ash, turning sunrise into a bruised twilight, and the distant wail of collapsing buildings forms an ominous chorus. Through the ruins, Godzilla steps with measured power, each footfall sending tremors through fractured foundations. Dorsal plates blaze with intense flickering light, pulsing with anticipation. His roar cuts through the haze, resonating across crumbling blocks, announcing dominion over what remains. And then he sees it. The colossal titan, emerging from a cloud of steam, massive and deliberate. It towers over the ruins with lethal poise, skin glistening with residual heat from previous battles. Each step is calculated, as though the ground itself must bend to its will. Steam vents pulse in precise bursts, obscuring vision, shaping the battlefield to its advantage. Without hesitation, Godzilla lunges. The collision is instantaneous. Concrete explodes beneath them. Entire city blocks are obliterated in milliseconds, skyscrapers collapsing like fragile dominoes under the sheer force of their clash. Godzilla bites, claws rake, and tail sweeps, while the Titan counters with preemptive strikes, arms swinging with devastating accuracy, feet stomping down to crush incoming debris as both offense and defense. The streets erupt into chaos. Molten asphalt tears upward in jagged plumes. Vehicles abandoned in panic are hurled as weapons and shields alike. Fires leap from wreckage, ignited by atomic energy and volcanic heat, forming a labyrinth of inferno between them. Godzilla sustains the first visible injury of the campaign. A jagged fissure scorches across his chest, where the Titan's fist strikes mid-leap, tearing deep into muscle and bone. He staggers, roaring in pain and fury, a raw primal sound that echoes off the surrounding ruins. Steam hisses from his wound, smoke mingling with ash in a rising vortex. The colossal Titan does not relent. Each movement is precise, anticipating Godzilla's counters. It sweeps one massive arm, knocking the king of the monsters off balance, sending him smashing through 3 mid-rise towers in succession. Glass, steel, and fire rain down, and the ground itself shatters into a jagged canyon where their fight has carved a path. Monarch watches helplessly. He's adapting, one analyst murmurs. Every strike Godzilla throws, the Titan adjusts in milliseconds. Above the carnage, ash swirls like a storm cloud, and the wind carries the acrid scent of molten metal and ozone. Steam pulses from the Titan's body, denser now, thicker, as though it's storing energy, drawing the surrounding destruction into itself. Its hollow eyes are fixed on Godzilla, measuring, calculating, timing. Godzilla swings his tail, smashing a partially standing high-rise into the Titan, but the blow barely slows it. Each strike is countered, redirected, absorbed. The city itself becomes a weapon. Debris launched like projectiles, a landscape of ruin manipulated by both combatants. And then the Titan pauses. Steam vents hiss violently, its body quivering, and an unnatural heat radiates outward. The air ripples like a heat mirage. Monarch technicians recognize the signature immediately. This is unlike any previous blast. It's preparing something larger, Andrews whispers, eyes glued to the live feed. Its largest detonation yet. Godzilla roars in recognition, atomic plates flaring brighter, energy coiling like a living thing along his spine. The two alpha forces lock eyes, and for a heartbeat, the city's ruins seem to hold their breath. Smoke, fire, ash, and boiling water swirl around them in suspended chaos. Every movement from the Titan is deliberate, a dance of destructive precision. Godzilla responds in kind, instinct honed over centuries, strikes powered by pure survival and dominance. Each collision sends shockwaves through the fractured cityscape, leveling streets, toppling towers, and boiling canals in their wake. And yet, the Titan's calculated approach hints at something beyond raw power. It waits for the perfect moment, counting, observing, adapting to the rhythm of Godzilla's attacks. Every hesitation, every misstep by the king of the monsters is logged, measured, and stored. The sun is swallowed entirely by the ash-filled sky. The city below is unrecognizable, a skeleton of its former self. Heat rises in waves, warping the air, shimmering across jagged ruins. Smoke coils into massive pillars, twisting into the darkened clouds above. And in that moment, before the next collision, before another shockwave flattens what little remains, the colossal Titan exhales, steam pulsing outward, charging the air like a superheated furnace. It is clear, the next strike will not be defensive. The world braces. Godzilla's roar responds, a defiant challenge. The colossal Titan's chest swells, steam and heat radiating, signaling its largest detonation yet. And the ruined capital becomes the stage for a force neither the planet nor humanity can contain. The air ignites before the blast even erupts. Godzilla's dorsal plates flare with an intensity that fractures the dawn sky, radiating pure atomic energy in jagged pulses that shimmer through the haze of ash and steam. Every heartbeat of the king sends tremors rolling across the ruined city, shattering glass, cracking molten streets, and tossing skeletal remains of skyscrapers like matchsticks. His breath hisses in short, lethal bursts, energy arcing over the wreckage as if the planet itself is feeding into him. The colossal Titan shifts atop a collapsed district, eyes scanning Godzilla's glow with calculation. Steam vents pulse violently, the heat warping the air in waves that shimmer and distort the devastated horizon. The Titan's chest expands, muscles taut, beneath translucent flesh. Every line of its enormous body radiates energy, a coiled furnace of destructive potential. Then it happens. A detonation so massive, so sudden, that the city is obliterated before sound can follow. Concrete liquefies. Steel twists into molten spires. Fire leaps skyward, consuming streets, towers, and rivers alike in a blinding inferno. The ground cracks and folds beneath the force, sending shockwaves that ripple outward in visible rings, boiling the ocean at the coastline and sending tidal surges hundreds of meters inland. Godzilla does not stumble. He roars, a sound that shakes the remaining air, a primal defiance that carries over the roar of collapsing buildings. Radiation surges uncontrollably through his body, igniting veins of energy along his dorsal fins. Atomic power lashes outward, colliding with the Titan's detonation in a blinding eruption of heat, light, and kinetic destruction. Steam and fire mix, forming a vortex that engulfs both monsters in a tornado of incinerating energy. Monarch Command watches through fractured satellite feeds, eyes wide as the explosion blooms into the atmosphere. Visible from orbit, one scientist mutters, voice trembling. The entire region is swallowed by a luminous firestorm, a conflagration so vast it paints the clouds with a violent orange-white glow. Even orbiting satellites struggle to maintain feed as sensor arrays fry under radiation. Inside the storm, debris whirls like deadly meteorites. Chunks of city, melted steel, and fractured earth are thrown with force capable of leveling mountains. The Colossal Titan's body is obscured behind a continuous veil of steam and fire. Yet through brief glimpses, its colossal frame contorts to absorb the impact, arms bracing against heat and recoil. Godzilla surges forward, atomic energy flaring higher than ever. His tail slices through pillars of molten debris, sending waves of heat and force crashing into the Titan. Sparks of light dance along the curvature of his dorsal spines, igniting clouds of ash into temporary auroras of blue-white radiance. Each step is punishment for the Earth. Fissures opening beneath him, trees vaporizing before they touch his massive claws. For a moment, time seems suspended. Fire, smoke, and radiation swirl into a chaotic symphony of destruction. The city has ceased to exist. Only the echo of ruin remains. Steam hisses in arcs across molten streets. Rivers boil into clouds of vapor. The horizon flickers as atomic energy collides with raw destructive force. Then, the detonation peaks. The Colossal Titan unleashes a final, concentrated pulse from its chest. Steam erupts like a geyser, superheated, scalding, and radioactive. The shockwave rolls across Godzilla, rocking him back, his roar turning into a grinding growl of strain and endurance. For the first time, Monarch observes physical damage across the king's frame. Scorched ridges along dorsal plates, fissures running through regenerating scales. The Titan's strategic patience is evident. The pulse was calculated to maximize energy absorption and inflict maximum strain. Godzilla steadies himself. The surge of atomic power in his body spikes uncontrollably, a wildfire of radiation fusing with his primal drive. Energy lashes outward in uncontrolled arcs, meeting the Titan's steam explosion mid-air in a violent collision that lights up the horizon for miles. Mountains, previously untouched, fracture from the force. The sky itself shudders under the scale of destruction. And then silence. The firestorm collapses inward, the vaporized air coalescing into a rolling wall of steam and ash. Shadows flicker at the edges of molten heat. The city is gone. Rivers have boiled away into vapor. Streets, buildings, and trees exist only as molten ruins. When the smoke begins to fade, only one silhouette remains, towering, immense, and pulsing with residual atomic energy. It stands alone amidst a landscape of absolute annihilation. Every movement radiates dominance and survival. The unmistakable mark of the true Alpha. The Colossal Titan is gone. Godzilla roars, not in triumph, but in raw, enduring power. Radiation pulses along his back, sending waves of heat across the charred wasteland. The planet trembles under his presence. Monarch monitors spike with residual energy readings, some still registering faint, scattered signatures, but no movement challenges the king. The first act of global supremacy has concluded, but the world is watching. Every earthquake, every tectonic pulse, every shimmer of heat across the oceans whispers one truth. The balance has shifted, but it is only temporary. For now, one silhouette dominates the horizon, and the planet holds its breath. The smoke has settled, but the air still trembles. A heavy, sulphurous haze clings to the skeletal remains of the city, drifting in languid swirls over molten streets and shattered towers. Steam hisses from fissures in the asphalt, mingling with the scent of scorched steel and salt from boiled-over rivers. The skyline is jagged and broken, a graveyard of humanity's ambition. Birds do not stir. Wind moves sluggishly, carrying only the echo of destruction. On the outskirts, Monarch drones hover silently, their sensors quivering in static bursts. Cameras capture nothing but desolation. Collapsed structures, fire still smoldering in pockets of rubble, twisted metal forming jagged silhouettes against the dim, ash-choked sunlight. For a moment, it feels as though the world itself has paused, holding its breath. Dr. Andrews leans over a live feed, eyes narrowing at the radiation readings. "Nothing visible," she murmurs, voice tight. "No movement yet." Her finger hovers over the touchscreen, adjusting thermal scopes. The numbers flicker, high, uneven, erratic, not absent, not zero. Something moves beneath the ruins. In the city's core, streets cracked and molten, faint vibrations ripple across broken pavement. Small tremors pulse in uneven intervals, each one low and deliberate. Dust clouds lift from collapsed buildings in miniature explosions, shifting rubble in patterns too intentional to be random. Monarch analysts exchange tense glances. Could be residual geothermal activity, one suggests cautiously. Dr. Andrews shakes her head. "No, that's too organized. Look at the pattern, it's deliberate movement." From deep within the fractured earth, a low rumble resonates, soft at first, then swelling into something that shakes the remaining structural skeletons. It vibrates through the bones of the city, through the steel beams, and even through the sensors in orbiting satellites. A presence stirs beneath the ruins, immense and patient. On a nearby cliff, a group of Monarch field agents peers down at the devastation. Ash swirls in their faces. One whispers, barely audible over the settling debris. "Do you think they're both gone?" Dr. Andrews' voice comes over comms, calm but edged with tension. "Don't assume anything. Power readings suggest one or both. May still be operational. Something is moving." The ground quakes in pulses now, subtle but growing, like the heartbeat of a buried giant. Smoke funnels from crevices, carrying with it a low, resonant vibration that hums through the agent's feet. Even the sea seems to recoil, waves stuttering in hesitation along the broken coastline. Across the molten streets, shattered vehicles steam and water evaporates instantly where it touches rubble. A fallen skyscraper groans as it settles, but the faintest shift in its base hints at something alive beneath. Monarch sensors record energy spikes that spike and fall, a pattern both unpredictable and intelligent. In orbit, satellites capture brief, distorted heat signatures that blink on and off. Each flare hints at motion beneath the city's cratered surface. No visual confirmation, but the energy patterns mimic what Godzilla and the Colossal Titan would produce when active. Massive, uneven, and primal. The field agents feel the tremors as vibrations climb along their boots. Their communications crackle with static. Ash falls in sheets, stirred by pulses that grow stronger, deeper. Trees along the ruined periphery bend and twist without wind, as if responding to an unseen force. Dr. Andrews leans closer to her screens, voice quiet but firm. The ecosystem. Everything is waiting. Predators and prey alike are pausing. Something is asserting presence. It's waiting, calculating. Then, as if the earth itself has been inhaling, the rumble intensifies. Fissures along the main boulevard split wider, steam shooting upward in columns, carrying faint glows of heat deep beneath the surface. Dust clouds spiral into vortexes and crack spiderweb across every remaining street. The agents freeze, eyes wide. One mutters, "It's alive. It's still alive." Monarch command is tense. "Prepare for re-emergence," Andrews orders, fingers dancing over sensor grids. "We can't predict the scale, but whatever's down there is ready to move." The rumble grows into a resonant growl, vibrating through steel and stone alike. Every streetlight wavers, every standing column hums, and the remnants of the city tremble as if acknowledging the presence below. The air itself seems to shiver, charged with radioactive energy that prickles across exposed skin. A final low pulse echoes beneath the ruins, a deliberate rolling vibration that carries across the coastline and into the nearby mountains. It is slow, purposeful, undeniable. Not a quake, not an aftershock. Something is alive, massive, and stirring. Monarch technicians hold their breath as sensors spike in unison, readings climbing toward levels previously thought impossible. "Something is coming," Andrews whispers, and then the earth shifts once more. A subtle wave, a tremor through rock and ash, a pulse that promises a presence unseen but undeniable. The battlefield lies silent, smouldering, and broken, yet beneath it all the planet vibrates with the unshakable heartbeat of a king or an invader. A low rumble rolls beneath the earth, carrying a warning to all who remain. The next act is imminent. The horizon trembles before Godzilla appears. A low, rolling roar carries across the fractured landscape as the king of the monsters emerges from a churning river delta. Steam rises in clouds from his scorched, battered scales, the aftermath of the previous detonation etched in every gash and fissure. His massive claws claw through fractured earth, leaving deep gouges that ripple with heat and radiation. Each step sends shockwaves through the ruined terrain, cracking rocks, toppling half-collapsed cliffs, and boiling stagnant pools of water. Sunlight struggles through a thick haze of ash and smoke, casting jagged shadows over the shattered cityscape. Skyscrapers, now skeletal, lean precariously, their steel bones jutting toward the sky like jagged teeth. Fire still licks at molten ruins, casting an amber glow across Godzilla's wounded frame. His tail drags through debris, sending up plumes of dust and embers that swirl into the heavy air. Monarch teams watch from fortified observation posts, monitors flickering with thermal scans and seismic readings. Dr. Andrews leans forward, gripping the console. "He's alive. And moving," she says, her voice taut with both relief and fear. "But look at the energy signature. He's drained. Every step is costing him. This landscape, it's reshaped by their war." Far off, across a scorched mountain range, a distant glow pierces the haze. Steam hisses as the Colossal Titan regenerates. Flesh knits, steam vents pulse rhythmically, and despite the diminished size and energy, the Titan's posture remains imposing, unyielding. Its massive form moves with deliberate purpose, testing the ground, measuring the distance to its opponent, calculating. The two colossi regard each other, across the continent-ravaged landscape, separated by molten valleys, fractured forests, and collapsed cities. Godzilla's eyes narrow, dorsal spines flickering with intermittent flashes of atomic energy. Each pulse sends waves through the ash-choked air. He senses the Titan's regeneration, senses the quiet intelligence still lurking in the giant frame. Monarch sensors spike violently as radiation readings across the region climb. The planet itself seems to protest, tectonic plates trembling under the cumulative force of prior detonations. Volcanoes smolder, rivers boil, and fissures spiderweb across continents. Humanity teeters on the edge of extinction with each seismic pulse. Godzilla pauses, nostrils flaring, scanning the distance. His growl resonates through mountains and valleys, a warning that echoes across the fractured ecosystem. Birds do not stir. Minor creatures, prehistoric survivors and awakened titans alike freeze, recognizing the presence of apex predators. The world seems to recoil, waiting. The colossal titan shifts on a distant ridge, regenerating steam pulsating like measured breathing. Its eyes, hollow yet calculating, track Godzilla's movements. The intelligence within is unmistakable, a cold, strategic patience that contrasts with Godzilla's raw, instinctive dominance. It flexes massive fists, sending shockwaves into the surrounding rubble, testing both the land and the king it once tried to destroy. Monarch command goes quiet. They can't clash again like before, an analyst mutters. The planet. It won't survive another full-scale fight. Look at the energy readings. Andrews' gaze sweeps over global sensors, radiation spikes, seismic disturbances, atmospheric distortion, all indicators that the next clash could reshape continents, tear oceans apart, and annihilate the remaining fragile ecosystems. Godzilla roars again, a deep, resonant challenge. The king shifts weight, muscles flexing, claws digging into fractured rock. His scales shimmer faintly as atomic energy gathers in rippling veins, but even as his power pulses outward, there is fatigue, a visible, palpable strain from the prior detonation and countless collisions. The colossal titan watches, measuring, calculating, regenerating, faster than any human could imagine. Its massive form emits steam in timed bursts, nearly invisible through the ash-choked horizon. Every movement is deliberate, conserving energy, studying Godzilla's pattern, preparing for the inevitable. Monarch communications buzz with tension. Satellite feeds blink in and out as thermal and seismic anomalies spike. We need contingency plans, a field agent whispers. If they clash again, there won't be a planet left to monitor. Andrews leans over, eyes narrowing at the live feed of the Titan. We may have to consider the unthinkable. Intervention, she says softly, tone weighed down with dread. The monitors around her display the global consequences: seismic ruptures, atmospheric instability, radiation plumes, and the trembling ecosystems awaiting their alpha. Godzilla steps forward, the ground groaning beneath his immense weight. His dorsal spines flare in a wave of concentrated energy, pulsing outward like a heartbeat that resonates across the broken continent. He is alive, scarred, dominant, but not invincible. The colossal titan rises fully from the ridge, steam hissing and muscles tightening. Despite its wounds and previous detonations, it stands prepared, calculating, unyielding. Its gaze locks with Godzilla's, and for a moment the world seems suspended between their power. Two alpha forces remain, battered but alive, separated by a landscape that bears the scars of their war. Each knows the other will rise again. Each senses the planet's fragility. And Monarch, watching the trembling Earth and scanning impossible energy readings, knows that waiting may no longer be an option. The next clash is coming, and humanity must decide whether to intervene or watch as the world bends beneath two unstoppable forces. The sky splits with streaks of warning flares. Monarch's command center is a hive of tension and barely controlled chaos. Alarms blare intermittently, red lights reflecting off grim faces and glowing screens. Engineers and military strategists rush between consoles, fingers flying over holographic interfaces that display real-time seismic data, thermal readings, and predicted trajectories for two of the most dangerous beings the planet has ever known. Outside, a storm rumbles over the wasteland, an omen, or perhaps a warning. Dr. Andrews stands at the center of the room, eyes locked on a massive hologram that maps both Godzilla and the Colossal Titan across the continent. Godzilla's jagged dorsal fins pulse faintly, a residual glow from prior clashes. The Titan's towering figure is shrouded in steam, regenerating slowly, yet every movement radiates deliberate calculation. "We have a single shot," Andrews says, voice tight with the weight of impossibility. "This tech, it can influence their path, draw them to the wasteland. But if we miscalculate, if either senses manipulation, this entire hemisphere could be annihilated." Outside, the wasteland waits like a scar across the earth. Fractured plains, blackened craters, rivers of molten rock, and towering spires of collapsed earth. The remnants of ancient volcanic eruptions and tectonic upheavals provide the perfect but unstable arena for what Monarch hopes will be a controlled confrontation. Drones swarm overhead, deploying energy beacons and electromagnetic pulse generators. The beacons emit pulsing signals designed to attract the Colossal Titan, leveraging residual heat signatures and the Titan's own extrapolated energy patterns. Electromagnetic pulses are aimed at nudging Godzilla, subtly guiding the King's colossal mass toward the trap. From the command deck, every technician watches monitors with sweat-slicked faces. "Trajectory stable, for now," a young analyst murmurs, "but the Titans, both of them, are unpredictable. They've adapted before." The first tremor hits the ground as Godzilla steps from the ocean, massive claws sinking into jagged rocks, shaking the wasteland with every movement. His roar echoes across the ruined valleys, low and resonant, vibrating through air and stone alike. Waves crash inland in response, pulverizing fragile observation outposts, sending debris flying toward Monarch's perimeter. At the far ridge, the Colossal Titan emerges from the regenerating steam, shoulders heaving as it scans the terrain. Its gaze finds Godzilla instantly, and a low hiss of acknowledgement escapes its massive throat. Unlike before, this is not a reflexive engagement. The Titan calculates the distance, the terrain, the relative threat, and its next detonation, however far away, is timed to provoke maximum response. Monarch technicians hold their breath as the Titans advance. Electromagnetic pulses shimmer across the ground in faint, rippling waves, barely perceptible in the smog-choked air, but enough to nudge Godzilla's path incrementally toward the wasteland. Beacons pulse rhythmically, their heat signatures weaving a trail for the Colossal Titan to follow. Godzilla pauses atop a jagged outcrop, sensing the subtle manipulation. His tail lashes, sending a wave of kinetic force that ripples across the terrain, yet he continues toward the wasteland. Atomic energy pulses from his dorsal fins, bright against the darkened sky, reacting to the electromagnetic signals in ways Monarch engineers never anticipated. Every step is a negotiation between instinct and manipulation. The Colossal Titan moves with terrifying grace, massive fists punching the air as it navigates the fractured plains. Steam hisses violently from its back, creating clouds that momentarily obscure it from sight. Yet it progresses, guided by residual energy and the lure of calculated confrontation. Each step sends fissures across the earth, shaking the wasteland into a more volatile, destructive stage for the inevitable clash. Inside the command center, Andrew's hands tremble over the console. "We're at risk," she mutters, "if either realizes the manipulation, if either attacks prematurely. It won't matter how prepared the wasteland is. We could trigger chain reactions we can't contain." The first energy beacon pulses sharply, a flare brighter than any other. Godzilla senses it instantly, roaring, a deep, resonant sound that echoes across valleys and cliffs. The Colossal Titan responds with a hiss of recognition, steam venting in controlled bursts, as if it understands the invisible boundaries Monarch has imposed. The wasteland itself seems alive under their approach. Ash clouds swirl, molten rivers ripple unnaturally, and fissures widen with each passing step. The air vibrates with the residual energy of prior clashes, charged with anticipation. Even minor awakened titans stir in the distance, observing, recognizing, hesitating. Andrews exhales, voice barely audible. Both giants are converging. Brace for impact. As the Colossal Titan advances, every muscle taut and every pulse calculated, Godzilla lumbers forward, energy flaring, primal instinct fused with subtle external influence. The two unstoppable forces close the distance, the wasteland a ticking crucible beneath them, ready to bear the consequences of humanity's audacious gamble. The first tremors of collision ripple across the earth, signaling that the ultimate confrontation is imminent. Monarch can only watch, hope, and pray as their controlled chaos draws two alpha predators toward a fate that may well decide the survival of the planet itself. And above the ash-choked horizon, both giants converge, colossal shadows stretching across fractured plains, a promise of devastation waiting to be unleashed. The desert shivers under the weight of two colossal forces. A cloud of heat and dust rolls across the barren expanse as Godzilla's massive frame emerges from the edge of a jagged canyon, scales blackened and chipped from countless clashes. His eyes, sharp and unyielding, lock on the distant silhouette of the Colossal Titan, rising atop a plateau of fractured rock. Steam hisses from its body in thick plumes, spiraling skyward, each pulse marking a heartbeat of strategy, patience, and impending violence. The sky is a dull orange, streaked with ash carried on scorching winds, a sunless light diffused through smoke that dims even the harsh desert glare. Cracked earth stretches between the two titans, molten fissures snaking across the ground, glowing faintly from geothermal tremors. Every step they take sends shockwaves shivering through miles of sand, cracking dry riverbeds and toppling skeletal boulders. Monarch observation stations, precariously perched on cliffs beyond the wasteland, flash with warnings. Dr. Andrews watches with clenched teeth, eyes flicking between seismic feeds and thermal imagery. "This is it," she mutters, voice tight. "The entire planet hangs on this moment. If either miscalculates..." Her words trail off, swallowed by the wind's roar across the open plains. The Colossal Titan flexes enormous limbs, steam venting from cracks along its shoulders and back. It bends forward slightly, calculating the distance, the air density, even the subtle shifts of heat rising from Godzilla's atomic energy. With deliberate focus, the Titan's chest hisses violently, steam venting in a sudden blinding surge, visible from orbit as a vaporous cloud radiating immense thermal pressure. Every muscle trembles, a storm coiled into one ultimate cataclysmic blast. Godzilla senses the Titan's preparation. His tail lashes, sending arcs of sand and debris into the hot, swirling air. Dorsal spines flare, glowing brighter than ever, atomic energy pooling along his backbone, flickering with the residual fires of every prior clash. His roar cuts across the wasteland, vibrating through cracked cliffs, molten rivers, and fractured canyons, a challenge that carries primal weight across the open desert. Steam and atomic heat meet halfway. The initial collision erupts in a visible wall of pressure, a rolling, boiling storm of white and blue energy that lights the horizon in violent contrast. Sand vaporizes instantly where it touches the edge of the blast. Molten rock boils along fissures, and shockwaves radiate outward, tearing through distant canyons and sending clouds of ash high into the stratosphere. Godzilla charges undeterred. Every step is measured yet unstoppable. Claws sinking deep into cracked sandstone, tail thrashing behind him like a battering ram. Radiation pulses from his dorsal fins, rippling across the desert floor, creating miniature seismic quakes that tremble through every ridge and plateau. Even as heat and pressure buffet him, Godzilla advances, eyes locked on the Titan's looming form. The Colossal Titan sacrifices regeneration, steam venting furiously as flesh strains against the explosion it has unleashed. Every second spent sustaining this cataclysmic blast slows its healing, yet the calculation is precise. The energy must be maximal, overwhelming. A singular strike designed to halt the apex predator in its tracks. Steam erupts in waves, scouring the desert sands, leaving patterns of molten, cracked terrain like the imprint of some terrible celestial hand. From Monarch's observation points, every screen is alive with readings. Temperatures off the charts, seismic tremors rivaling minor quakes, radiation pulses marking Godzilla's atomic energy. The tech is pushed beyond limits, sensors flicker under the intensity, some going dark entirely. Dr. Andrews grips the console, knuckles white, eyes scanning for anomalies. Hold on, she whispers, both of them converging. Now. Godzilla plunges into the center of the blast. Atomic energy flares violently against the scalding steam, creating a roiling vortex of fire, pressure, and heat. His scales glow white-hot under the combined assault, yet he does not falter. His massive legs pound through sand, rock, and ash, driving him forward with unstoppable momentum. The collision sends shockwaves across the wasteland, kicking up plumes of ash and molten sand that stretch miles. Clouds of steam rise in sheets, bending and twisting in the violent thermals, scattering embers that burn the remaining cracked earth. Light bends around the conflagration, painting the sky in impossible colors of white, orange, and electric blue. For a heartbeat, the world is reduced to energy and motion. The roar of two apex forces, one instinct, one intelligence, locked in a singular planet-shaking moment. As the dust, heat, and steam swirl violently, the Colossal Titan braces, muscles trembling from the strain of sustaining such power, while Godzilla pushes forward, unstoppable, glowing like a living beacon of radiation. The wasteland holds its breath. The planet itself seems to pause, waiting to see which force will yield, which will dominate, and whether the fragile crust of Earth can survive the fury of two titans fully unleashed. And in that searing, storm-laden desert, as steam and atomic fire collide in a spectacle visible from space, the first true test of their ultimate endurance begins. The desert trembles as if the planet itself is gasping. Godzilla and the Colossal Titan collide with a resounding shock that shatters cliffs and boils sand into glass. For the first time, they grapple in close combat, titanic bodies pressing against each other in a battle of sheer mass, muscle, and molten energy. Godzilla's claws dig into the Titan's steaming flesh, while the Titan's massive hands wrap around Godzilla's torso, fingers like iron shackles, fists clenched with deliberate calculating force. Every movement sends fissures spiderwebbing across the scorched wasteland. Heat pulses from the Titan's core, steam venting violently as its muscles strain under Godzilla's relentless pressure. The king of the monsters roars, a deep, guttural sound that vibrates through the fractured canyon walls, shaking loose, jagged boulders and throwing molten debris into the air. Godzilla's atomic energy pulses along his dorsal fins, bathing the Titan in bursts of blinding blue light. Yet the Titan refuses to yield. Its steam vents hiss and curl like serpents, scalding the surrounding sand and warping the air with intense heat. The landscape fractures beneath them. Giant cracks tear across the earth. Molten rivers of sand snake through chasms opened by their combined weight, and every clash sends shockwaves rippling across miles. Ash and dust churn in massive clouds, casting everything into a molten, smoke-choked twilight. Monarch satellites detect temperatures soaring to levels that should have vaporized all life in the vicinity. The wasteland itself seems to scream under the weight of the battle. Godzilla twists, tail swinging like a wrecking ball, slamming into the Titan's side. Steam erupts in clouds, and the force reverberates through the Titan's frame. Yet the Titan counters with precise strength, gripping Godzilla's arms, crushing with calculated pressure, designed to slow the king without tearing itself apart. Its muscles bulge and pulse beneath the regenerating flesh, veins glowing faintly with heat. It's not brute instinct, it's strategy, human intelligence fused with monstrous scale. From orbit, Monarch observes the struggle through heat-mapped satellites. Dr. Andrews bites her lip, eyes wide. It's holding, but the energy readings they're off the charts. The Titan's core is overheating. That last detonation, it's pushing beyond safe limits. Back on the ground, steam hissed and roared like a living thing. The Titan shudders violently as internal pressure builds. Molten energy pulses along its spine, radiating outward in waves of scalding vapor. Godzilla senses the disruption, his eyes narrowing, nostrils flaring, atomic energy pulsing with sharper intensity. He pushes forward, muscles straining, claws raking across the Titan's chest, forcing it backward inch by inch. The Titan gasps in a sound like tearing metal, steam venting in violent bursts. Its regeneration falters, flesh quivering under the strain. Its massive shoulders shake as tendons and steam vents begin to fail, veins glowing red-hot. The calculation that guided every previous move now teeters on the brink of catastrophe. Every pulse of heat threatens structural failure within the Titan's core. The battle is a storm of physical and elemental force. Godzilla twists and slams his tail into the Titan's thigh, sending a geyser of superheated steam into the sky. The Titan counters with a crushing grip, a hand slamming into Godzilla's chest, forcing the atomic apex down into the sand. The collision of molten heat and raw muscle sends a shockwave that vaporizes nearby boulders, reshaping the already fractured desert into a war-torn furnace. Monarch analysts scream into radios as seismic sensors spike. Critical failure imminent, core instability, Titan may detonate. Andrews grips the console so tightly that her knuckles whiten. If it goes, it won't be contained. Everything in this hemisphere. Her voice cuts off as another tremor shakes the command deck. The Titan pauses, mid-grapple, steam hissing in ragged bursts. Its massive head tilts slightly, eyes flickering with something almost human. A calculation, a recognition that the limits of its body have been reached. Molten energy pulses along the spine in sharp, irregular flashes. Tendons tremble, and the ground beneath shatters further, chunks of scorched earth sliding into newly formed crevices. Godzilla roars again, sensing the critical instability, and presses with unrelenting force. Each strike and grapple forces the Titan to expend more energy to maintain form, the internal overload growing. Steam vents explode in violent arcs, a warning and a promise of the danger within. The desert itself seems to hold its breath, teetering on the edge of total destruction. And in that tense, violent standstill, a single realization pierces the chaos. The colossal Titan's body is no longer just a weapon. It is a ticking catastrophe. Every calculated strike, every vented burst, every pulse of molten heat has pushed Isa past the threshold. A critical failure begins within the Titan's core, imperceptible to the human eye, but undeniable to every sensor, every vibration, every tremor. The wasteland groans beneath them, awaiting the inevitable. Godzilla tightens his grip, dorsal spines flaring, atomic energy pooling and vibrating in tandem with the Titan's overloading core. The two apex predators remain locked in brutal, intimate combat, unaware of the exact moment when one misstep will trigger disaster that even they cannot control. And above the roiling battlefield, Monarch can only watch, powerless, as the breaking point has been reached, and the first irreversible domino begins to fall. The desert trembles like it's dying. The colossal Titan hunches over, massive fists pressed into the cracked earth, steam venting in jagged bursts that rise like smoke signals of imminent catastrophe. Its body is a furnace of molten energy, veins glowing a violent white-hot red, every pulse a warning. Godzilla's glowing eyes lock on the Titan, recognizing the final calculation. The monster before him will not yield. It will end everything to survive or destroy. Without warning, the Titan arches backward, letting loose a spine-jarring roar that shakes the very air. Steam hisses violently as it vents every ounce of pent-up energy. The desert floor begins to warp, sand vaporizing instantly where heat meets rock, molten streams carving new paths as the earth bends beneath the pressure. Godzilla braces, tail lashing, spines flaring with atomic fire, the roar answering the Titan's challenge in defiance. Then the first wave hits. A shockwave of searing heat radiates outward, rolling over dunes, toppling cliffs, and flattening jagged rock formations. The sky above bends into a terrifying palette of white and orange as the Titan's body ignites in full-blown detonation. Columns of steam, molten sand, and radiant energy tear into the stratosphere, visible across the horizon like a second sun. Monarch satellites struggle to track the readings. Instruments are pushed beyond limits. Thermal readings spike, seismic monitors erupt in red, and the entire desert becomes a hellscape of vapor and fire. Godzilla lunges forward, but the Titan's blast is indiscriminate, each pulse of heat and pressure threatening to tear even him apart. He grits massive teeth, muscles rippling under glowing scales, and takes the full brunt. The atomic energy along his dorsal plates erupts in counterwaves, vaporizing the worst of the incoming inferno. But the sheer magnitude of the explosion knocks him off balance. Sand and rock collide against his claws, steam scalding his massive hide, yet he does not falter. His roar, a deep, resonating sound that vibrates through every canyon, echoes defiance into the searing air. The colossal Titan twists, expelling steam in violent serpentine streams as energy tears through its body. Flesh strains, regenerating tissue burning under the heat it cannot contain. Molten veins burst along its limbs, every muscle spasming, as if the body itself knows it cannot endure. In a final desperate act, it bends, folding inward in a concussive collapse that focuses all remaining energy into one cataclysmic detonation. The desert floor explodes. A pillar of fire, ash, and molten energy rises miles into the air, carrying fragments of Titan and Earth alike. Shockwaves roll outward like ocean waves, flattening dunes and cracking the already shattered terrain. Dust and steam form a choking vortex, cutting visibility to almost nothing. Trees, rocks, and boulders are vaporized in the immediate radius, leaving nothing but glass, sand, and smoke. The sky above twists with heat distortions, creating the illusion of a second sun burning in place of the real one. Godzilla braces mid-stride, absorbing what he can. His spines flare violently, releasing energy that shields his body from total obliteration. Molten streams of sand and debris cascade off his scales, and the roar of survival tears from his throat. Despite the near-apocalyptic force, he remains standing, battered and scorched but alive, eyes fixed on the fading shape of the Titan. When the dust finally begins to settle, the Colossal Titan's form is gone. Its body, once towering and relentless, has disintegrated into nothing more than smouldering ash and energy dissipating into the atmosphere. Steam curls in ghostly plumes from craters where molten rock still cools, marking the battleground of the ultimate clash. Silence descends, almost unbearable in its intensity, broken only by the hissing of cooling sand and the occasional tremor from residual heat. Godzilla stands alone amidst the cratered wasteland. Each inhale sends visible puffs of atomic heat into the air. His tail swings slowly, surveying the destruction. The desert around him is unrecognizable, once jagged cliffs now reduced to molten plains, once jagged dunes now smoothed into blackened glass. Despite his immense wounds, his posture radiates dominance, the aura of a surviving apex predator resonating with every pulse of his glowing dorsal plates. High above, Monarch teams hold their breath. Dr. Andrews leans over the console, whispering as readings stabilize. It's over. He survived. Her voice is taut with relief, tempered with awe at the sheer devastation that just unfolded. Instruments begin to cool, but the cratered wasteland is a testament to the titanic forces that just collided, and the world knows nothing will ever be the same. And in the eerie, smoke-filled silence, Godzilla lets out a roar, a declaration of survival, of dominance, and of warning. It cuts through the settling ash and rising heat, the lone sound resonating across the wasteland, carrying the weight of a planet that has just witnessed the fall of the Colossus. The desert wind carries the scent of ash and scorched earth, curling through the shattered remnants of mountains and molten plains. Godzilla moves slowly across the wasteland, each massive step cracking the brittle crust beneath him, sending up clouds of dust that shimmer in the weak sunlight, breaking through the lingering smoke. His dorsal plates glow faintly, a living pulse of energy, marking him as the uncontested alpha of a planet that has just endured cataclysm. The silence around him is almost unnatural, the echoes of titanic destruction fading into a solemn hush, broken only by the distant groans of settling earth and the occasional hiss of cooling steam. The battlefield stretches as far as the eye can see, jagged craters, molten rivers hardened into black glass, remnants of cliffs shattered by seismic fury. Scattered among them, smaller titans emerge cautiously from hiding, drawn by tremors and residual energy, yet hesitant to challenge the king. One by one, they retreat into distant valleys and forests, recognizing the dominance of the apex predator who stands unbowed despite his wounds. Godzilla surveys the retreat, nostrils flaring with faint puffs of atomic heat, eyes narrowing as though reading the world's pulse, ensuring no challenger dares approach while his strength remains sufficient to enforce order. Monarch teams, stationed at remote observation posts, scan the horizon through heat-mapped lenses. Dr. Andrews leans over a console, her voice hushed but urgent. The readings, they're stabilizing. The residual radiation, it's fading, but there's something else. Her fingers hover over the keyboard as monitors pick up faint energy signatures, pulsing sporadically, uneven yet unmistakable. It's unlike anything we've recorded. Not Titan, not natural, not human-made. The words hang in the air, heavy with implication, as if even in victory the world holds secrets beyond comprehension. Godzilla pauses atop a scorched ridge, tail coiling slowly behind him. He lifts his head to the sky, exhaling a deep, resonant roar that rolls across the cratered wasteland. The sound reverberates in every canyon and fissure, asserting presence, dominance, and a warning. This planet's hierarchy has been tested, and the apex stands firm. Ash and dust swirl around him, catching the faint glow from his dorsal plates, turning the air into a halo of light and shadow that makes the king appear almost divine in scale. An elemental force manifesting over the ruins of civilization. Below, humanity begins tentative steps toward recovery. Evacuation zones stretch across newly safe regions, engineers and soldiers cautiously returning to survey ruined cities, assess radiation levels, and clear debris. Military convoys navigate paths torn open by tremors, while reconstruction crews attempt to stabilize bridges and infrastructure. Every step forward is tempered by the knowledge that the land itself has been irrevocably reshaped. The planet survives, but it bears scars that no reconstruction can fully erase. Civilization exists now under the shadow of a living, wounded god, each human action measured against the lingering threat that birthed the wasteland. Godzilla's movements are deliberate, almost ritualistic as he walks through the shattered terrain. He pauses at the edge of a deep crater where the Colossal Titan fell, the ground warped and glassed by molten heat. Steam rises in ghostly columns, carrying with it the smell of superheated sand and burnt metal. Godzilla's eyes flicker over the crater, not with curiosity, but with recognition, an understanding of a force once opposed, now dissipated. There is no triumph in his gaze, only the steady, enduring presence of a creature who has survived a world-shattering confrontation and remained sovereign. From orbit, Monarch satellites continue to map residual heat and energy signatures. Engineers track faint spikes of anomalous readings, noting irregular pulses that flicker like whispers across the network. Dr. Andrews exchanges a grim look with her team. Even after the Titan is gone, something lingers. That energy, it's alive in some way, not predictable, not controllable. Her voice drops to a whisper, as if speaking aloud might summon whatever remains. The crew watches monitors intently, knowing that even in the wake of devastation, the planet holds mysteries yet unresolved. The horizon shifts as the sun descends behind layers of smoke and dust. Godzilla moves toward a fractured ridge, silhouetted against the dying light, every scar along his body visible in sharp relief. Lesser titans slink into the shadows, leaving him unchallenged, their retreat a tacit acknowledgement of his supremacy. Humanity rebuilds below, ever aware of the predator above, the world's balance slowly reasserting itself, but forever altered. And then, almost imperceptibly, a tremor ripples through the desolate land. Monarch sensors spike with readings too faint to fully decipher, an energy that pulses irregularly, faint yet undeniable. Dr. Andrews leans forward, heart racing. It's something else. It's not over. Something's still here. Godzilla lifts his head, nostrils flaring, sensing what humans cannot fully perceive. The wasteland is quiet but not lifeless. Something stirs, something ancient and alien. A whisper beneath the sand and stone. The king of the ruined world stands resolute, yet even he senses the faint tremor of an unknown force lingering in the ashes of a world remade. Lightning splits the horizon, a jagged crack of white against bruised clouds. The storm rolls over the ocean like a restless giant, waves slamming into cliffs with a force that seems almost sentient. Somewhere beneath the dark waters, Godzilla stirs, scales glinting faintly beneath the moonlight. His massive tail sweeps slowly, stirring currents that ripple across hundreds of meters. He exhales, a low, vibrating growl that rumbles through the depths, a reminder that the apex predator is far from gone. Above, the storm intensifies, gusts whipping rain into white spray, and yet the world feels quieter now, as if holding its breath. Monarch outposts dot the shoreline, their equipment blinking steadily amidst the chaos of nature reclaiming its dominion. Analysts stare at monitors, watching clouds swirl in patterns shaped by residual thermal energy. The planet is healing, yet every reading carries an anomaly. A faint pulse interwoven with natural atmospheric currents, a lingering heartbeat that does not belong. It's dispersing, Dr. Andrews murmurs, leaning over a console as she traces the fluctuating signature across global maps. The Titan's energy, it's not gone. It's everywhere now. Her voice carries awe and dread in equal measure, the room silent except for the low hum of instruments. The ocean churns violently as Godzilla rises, massive dorsal plates breaking the surface. Rain hammers down, steam rising where atomic energy meets the cold water, creating a mist that blurs the line between sea and sky. His eyes scan the horizon, glowing with the remnants of the battles fought and won. The scars along his colossal frame are still visible, yet he stands vigilant, an unyielding presence in a world that has been scarred and reshaped by forces beyond comprehension. Below, Monarch teams track his movements, aware that their knowledge of him is still limited, even after months of observation. Across the planet, storms form with unusual intensity. Thunderheads build rapidly, lightning branching unpredictably across continents. Sensors detect surges of energy that correlate perfectly with areas where the Colossal Titan fell, as though the Titan's essence has seeped into tectonic heat, into atmospheric pressure, into the very veins of the Earth itself. Dr. Andrews gestures at a monitor, eyes wide. Look at this pattern. It's subtle, but it's there. The energy is woven into storms, into the planet's crust. It's like the Titan never truly left. Godzilla shifts in the water, sensing the changes before any human instrument can register them. Currents twist around him, temperature fluctuations prickling his senses. Deep instinct tells him that the balance has been altered, that the apex role he claimed is no longer simple dominance, but a delicate maintenance of a fragile order. He emits a low roar, one not of aggression, but of warning, to whatever remains in the planet, to those who might challenge him, to the natural world itself. The storm intensifies and lightning strikes jagged cliffs, sending cascading fire and rock into the sea. Steam hisses in plumes, mixing with the rain, turning the night into a luminous, chaotic painting of fury and energy. Monarch satellites trace the signatures of dispersed energy swirling across the globe, patterns too diffuse to locate, yet undeniably Titan-like in their behavior. It's a planet-wide imprint, one technician whispers, awe-stricken. Whatever that thing was, it left a part of itself behind. In the midst of it all, Godzilla dives beneath the waves, vanishing into the depths as though the ocean itself has become his sanctuary. The storm continues above, yet the world feels a tense calm, a pause in the heartbeat of chaos. Waves crash against a battered shoreline, but the waters now carry only the ripples of a ruler who has survived apocalypse after apocalypse. Monarch teams document, record, analyze, but all their technology cannot fully comprehend what lingers, cannot fully predict what might return. Lightning flashes again, illuminating distant mountain ridges and city ruins below. Steam rises subtly from cracked earth, fissures and vents, carrying with it the dispersed energy signature of a being that has defied death, dimension, and understanding. In that ephemeral glow, it is impossible to discern whether the Colossal Titan is truly gone, or if its consciousness, its essence, has woven itself into the planet's very lifeblood. The world breathes slowly, recovering, yet it is not free of memory or threat. Monarch analysts exchange grim looks. Dr. Andrews breaks the silence. Godzilla won, but the planet carries its mark. This is not the end. Not for the Titans. Not for us. Outside, the storm rages on, electric energy dancing along clouds, and from beneath the waves, a subtle pulse resonates, the warning of a dormant king and the ghost of a colossal invader whose shadow will linger forever. And as the camera pans across the horizon, lightning strikes once more, illuminating steam rising from the earth. A whisper of movement dances in the mist, a subtle reminder that the age of giants may not be over. The earth, scarred yet alive, balances precariously between recovery and the ancient forces that have always ruled it. Godzilla watches, vigilant, while somewhere in the storms and tectonic heat, the essence of the Colossal Titan waits, patient, dispersed, eternal.